Hi everyone, and welcome to the Movie Section Show. My name is Fariba, and tonight we're about to watch Loki Season 2, Episode 2. And yeah, just to kind of recap a little bit from last week, because last week was the premiere, and yeah, we kind of got right down into what we saw the last time, especially how Loki Season 1 had ended. So we saw Loki was trying to deal with what seemed to kind of be the past, actually, and not really more so a trouble in between time. It was just more so like he was having some glitch in between the past and the future, but in the TVA. So very interesting complexity right there, and like implying a lot of the multiverse stuff with the TVA and not just in the actual timeline itself. It's like a hole within a hole, but yeah, it's a lot to deal with. I mean, that's the complexity of it, but we know for a fact that he was glitching a last episode and that he was going to the past. He eventually was able to meet up with the president movie that he knew and encountered OB, the new character played by Quan, and he seemed to had basically most of the answers, or at least had an idea what was going on. And from there, they were at least able to resolve the situation concerning Loki's glitching. So that has been figured out right now. At least from what we saw last episode, the big question is going to be, or not, at least not the big question, but the dilemma is going to be concerning Sylvie, because we all know what happened in the season 1 finale, that it's because of her actions that he remains is dead. This means that a lot of these Kang variants are now out in the open, which now poses a danger to not just any sort of universe, but the multiverse. And now we haven't seen Kang in episode 1, so I'm going to assume that we're not going to see him. Probably we might see him tonight, maybe not even. Like, it's kind of complicated with how we're going to be able to see Kang, because we've seen Victor Timely. We know for a fact that we're probably going to see Victor Timely in season 2, because that was teased back in Ant-Man Quantumania, Ant-Man and the Wasp Quantumania, that, Victor Timely is going to be involved in season 2. So that's going to be the version of King that we're going to see, or the version of He Remains. And now we don't know if we're going to see the King version that we saw in, Quantumania. It's very unclear. But we know there's a lot of different Kangs, so we don't know if we're going to see other Kang variants. But we know for a fact that he will show up at some point. We don't know how influential his presence is going to be yet. So that's going to be a big question going into the remainder of this series. But not just that, of course, Sylvie is a big question mark. She is kind of the big target now. We saw last episode that, a lot of the guards at TVA are preparing themselves with lots of weapons and gonna be searching for Sylvie, because they know for a fact that she's a threat. She's the reason why this all had happened. Why right now the TV is in chaos. Why the Knicks is in chaos. Why the multiverse in chaos. So yeah, there's a lot of things that did get resolved, of course, with Loki and the glitching and resolving all of that from season 1 finale. And now we're gonna get right down into the big part, which is Sylvie, the very unstable Nexus, not just Nexus, but the timeline right now, and how everything is just really branching out because of the Nexus and everything. And it's just a matter of, okay, how they're going to be able to resolve it, if it's even if it is possible to even fix all of that, and what this would mean for Loki moving forward, and what this could mean implying for not just Loki, but the relationship between Loki and Sylvie. We did see one little glimpse, and it seemed as if Loki was in the future. So something must have happened in the TVA, so they must have foreshadowed something in episode 1, where Loki does end up going to the future, meets up with Sylvie at the elevator, but we don't know why. We don't know what's causing this. We don't know what this is setting up. So hopefully, as we get down to season 2 and start getting more and more into the episodes, we'll start getting more answers about what's going to be developing, what's going to happen, as well as how everyone's going to be very important in the storytelling. So yeah, without further ado, let's get right down into episode 2 of Loki season 2.
Thoughts?
Sylvie's not here.
We just got here.
It doesn't feel right.
I know, but why?
It's too safe.
Okay.
It's not a war zone. It's not an apocalypse. It's not her style.
Okay, well, maybe she's changing tack. Plus, we got a hit on a 10-pad that belonged to Hunter X5 with Zaniac 2. A sequel for the fans.
Mobius! Whoa!
Nice to see you haven't forgotten about the little people.
No, I used to work with this guy.
You look great.
Oh, thank you very much. You look pretty good yourself. We're gonna need to catch you.
Oh, Hunter B-15 found him.
You okay? You're gonna ruin my life here!
Your life here?
Oh my god, look at that walk. Oh my god. Such a slick walk. He was going all James Bond right there. It's like James Bond Loki that we're dealing with right now. Yeah, this is the closest that we're gonna ever get to James Bond Loki.
Come on, X5. Did you really think you could outrun me?
Yeah. Back up! Oh, you're the tough guy, huh?
Someone sophisticated, X5.
You quit with the magic and fight fair! Oh, shit.
It's not a fair fight.
Wow, those. See, Loki has one of the best powers, I swear to God.
I didn't do anything wrong.
Yeah, but I thought it was spot on.
Interesting. Now, Loki has now become a guard.
Suits you.
You must.
So it looks like things are kind of back in order at TV, although the timeline's still unstable.
Hello? Ouroboros?
Huh. Interesting. Yeah, I can definitely get into it. Do you think this is a higher priority than preventing a temporal meltdown?
Oh, no. I focused on the temple. I agree.
Seems prudent. Okay. Everything you need to know.
To kill Mobius, threw me in time jail, and tried to take over the TVA. Why would tracking her temp pad be a secret?
Right.
Right.
Right. But no. Miss Minutes is helping Renslayer.
Oh,
That explains the radio silence. Hang on. Conversation between Renslayer and He Who Remains. It sounded like they were partners.
She really is full of surprises.
You can say that again. Where are they?
He doesn't block any trackers, that's for sure.
That's where we'll start with X5.
Let's take a run at Brad Wolf. Let's take a big run at him.
Thank you.
Okay, but of course Brad knows us and he knows our tactics. That's what makes for an interesting chess match. Okay, most of all, Brad's an asshole. Don't let him get under your skin, all right?
Collar off and start treating me like somebody who outranks you.
I don't work here.
Oh, that's a good point. You should stop talking.
Hey, what were you doing down there? You're just trying to make up for all the terrible, awful shit you've done in your life, you pathetic little man.
Okay, that's enough.
You're the problem. Every time we've ever found a you. Problem is, you think you're special, but you're not. So it doesn't matter what outfit you put on to dress up. You just make everything worse. For Mobius, for B-15, for your mother.
oh
That's
shit.
what you do.
And he didn't even get to live it.
You're a loser. You're gonna be a hero, man. You're a villain. You're good at it.
Shit.
Yeah.
Some Loki stands are not gonna be happy.
Brad. It's the real me. A loser. Always have been. Always will be.
holding something back.
Loki.
Perhaps I've just been biding my time.
Where is Sylvie?
You're way too obsessed with her. He needs therapy.
I can recommend someone if you want to work that out.
Who's there? Brad. Brad who? That's showbiz. And I don't want that to happen to you. So play an actor. I'm an analyst, but thank you.
You're not an analyst. I'm not a hunter. None of this is real. I mean, who even are you on the timeline? Do you know?
Someone who likes
Doesn't
jet
matter.
skis.
I think it does matter because none of this is real.
She's nothing. I don't even know where to start with that, but you're nothing here. And until you wake up, you're just a nowhere man. You're a nowhere man. You're a silly little
He slapped him. He slapped him.
Mobius. Yes.
Mobius slapped him. Have you ever seen Mobius slap anyone? Oh my god.
Nothing.
You okay?
I'm fine. That was tactical.
Seems like you got under your skin.
Nope. He didn't get under my skin. He got under your skin.
Mobius, are you all right? I've never seen you like...
Where are we?
I was following you.
No, I was following you.
He was
Mobius,
behind you.
you were clearly ahead of me.
It wasn't tactical. I lost it.
Yeah, clearly.
It's okay. I agree with my father and my brother. I went down to Earth and I held the whole of New York City hostage with an alien army.
Yeah.
Tried to use the Mind Stone on Tony Stark. It didn't work.
Yeah.
So I threw him off the building.
Yeah.
Let me say something. Wasn't tactical.
Yeah.
I lost it.
Yeah.
Sometimes our emotions get the better of us.
You can say
I love how
that
he's
again.
acknowledging what happened during the Battle of Earth.
Maybe I'll
No,
do something.
Battle of New York. Sorry. Battle of New York.
X5. See the life you're supposed to live before they kidnapped you and brought you into the TVA?
Not really.
Why?
Someone who
it's
liked
not
jet
my
skis.
life.
But it could have been.
It isn't. This is. Kidnapped me and brought me here. Got me this pie.
If you never look, you'll never know.
The TVA is the only life I've ever known. I like it.
Look, I understand it.
Rattling around in here? Of course not.
Sure.
Intense music is playing. Why?
Just gotta make him talk.
Well, come on. You're the god of mischief. Right?
Yeah.
Oh no.
Is it too late?
I'm not trying to be a hero, Brad. I'm a villain. Remember?
No, Loki. Earlier, I said some really hurtful things, and I brought up your mother, and I am really sorry about that.
Yeah, you
Mobius,
never bring up someone's
hey,
mother.
Get in here.
Let me try this. Let me try this.
Oh.
Okay, all right.
Sorry. That's only made it smaller.
Now look.
Awful things.
Yeah, you have. You're doing one right now. Have some perspective on yourself. Okay. Oh.
Trial and error. You're so convincing. I want to believe you, but you're such a good actor.
Look, I really don't know. I swear.
You're so
They
talented.
did not tell me the plan.
Please tell me the truth.
Okay.
I know you're.
Swear, okay? I would don't know what to give my life, okay? Because none of this is real.
Well, if none of this is real, I guess you aren't either.
Oh, shit.
There you go. Got there in the end.
Tracy, I thought he could help.
OB?
Oh shit.
Well, I'm gonna die. Oh, hey, nice to meet you. Well, I'm gonna die.
What do you mean?
Or Boris,
Yes,
you wrote the TVA guidebook.
you've read it?
Read it? I practically memorized it. Will you sign mine for me?
Of course I will. Happy to do it.
Yeah, just
So
next to your
cute.
picture of that.
Hold on. And only the person who designed it can open it with a live scan of his temporal aura.
Wouldn't that be you?
He who remains.
Oh.
And he's dead.
Shit.
So without Miss Minutes to help us override the lock, we're stuck.
So we have to convince a rogue artificial intelligence to come back to work?
Whatever we're doing.
Here, and a deal's a deal. All right? So you go ahead. I'm going to head on back, all right?
Wait. Why are you so jumpy? It's making me nervous.
I'm not jumpy. I'm not nervous.
Yeah,
Yeah,
what
you're
is
like,
what is
you
what
all
is
wanna take
what is the
off.
play? What's
I
going
just
on?
don't want to be around a variant who killed 400.
No, he is angry.
This feels tense.
Yeah.
Say we leave into it, right? We head on back to the
What are you
TVA.
talking about? No, I'm not going anywhere.
I know I'm the last person you want to see.
Correct.
Mm-hmm.
A lot like the future's already been written. And we both know that it hasn't, not anymore. I made sure of that.
Enchant me. You can see what I saw.
I don't want to see it. I want nothing to do with
If what I saw of you is true, then there's nothing that stands between this world and utter destruction. Without the TVA, all of this, everything, is gone.
Thank you.
What is happening right now? It's like they're going over every detail of their relationship that
It's
has
a
ever happened. Why is
complicated relationship, okay? There's a lot to unpack, and you're basically in a relationship with yourself.
Yeah.
They say opposites attract.
No, what is this?
Yeah, he's really in love with himself. A version
When I
of
brought you
himself.
Sylvie, I did that.
Yeah. And now here we are, enjoying a meal like gentlemen.
You slapped me in the face. I'm not
I
gonna
got
forget
you a
that you
shake, okay? Just a...
It's not scary. It's elevated thriller. All right. It's
is.
cinema. Thank you very much.
Yeah.
You can't see it either, right?
It's
you gotta get your own
cinema.
tickets. I'm not hooking you
Is
up.
that
Wow,
a jab
it
on
is.
Martin
I will.
Scorsese?
Look, why don't we just get this to go?
Just get me out of here, would you? Is this a setup? Hey, what's going on?
Slapped him again.
Nothing.
Gotta get
This
We're all gonna die. They're gonna die. Orange shirt. She's gonna die. Most importantly, we are all gonna die. This is gone. Unless we.
All this for Sylvie?
I don't buy it.
They're gonna bomb every branch.
Yeah, including this one.
Where do we go?
I'll show you.
B-15 incoming. Got branches.
She already is. Mobius, she's gonna kill them all. Start tracking those charges.
They've pruned 30% of the branches. Is Mobius on the ground yet?
Mobius, they're killing billions. Take dots down now.
Mineral carrying me.
Don't overthink it.
Loki, we need to go.
Well, that's not good.
Those are lives.
So,
So
that
Is this the best you lot can do?
Some defense.
The TVA is the problem. It's broken. It's rotten.
please don't.
so it's still
It's
there.
harder to stay.
All right. So that was episode 2 of Loki, and that took a very dark turn. So for one thing, if you think about this, right? So the whole point of why Sylvie killed He Who Remains is so that the branches can, flow freely. People can live their lives even if it doesn't match up with the sacred timeline. And that was the whole point of that. The fact that they basically pruned off what looks to be about a good 50% of the multiverse, that is messed up, because that is that's like billions and billions of people that the TVA basically killed, which raises the point of what Sylvie was saying, is that even though they're supposed to be the defenders of the timeline, here it is, they basically committed an attack on these, these branch timelines that just are living their lives freely, and that's all they're trying to do. And they decided to wipe those timelines up. So yeah, I mean, that was a very deep, dark turn right there. I mean, I would imagine that's going to have such a huge effect on the characters moving forward. Because, I mean, it's going to be very interesting too, because right now He Who Remains is not, it's gone. Miss Minutes is out in the wind somewhere, going on this rogue mission, I guess, with Renslayer. And here it is, where the TVA is trying to make amends for what the TVA used to operate on, only to see that there's just been more consequences that arose instead of actually trying to fix something. So, yeah, I mean, that is so unsettling. I mean, I guess this is just a way to carry on to see where it's going to go. So, definitely gonna be a lot of questions with how this show is gonna proceed, knowing that this event just happened. So yeah, I mean, I don't know if for one thing, right, we know for a fact that, I mean, I'm trying to think about this, because we know for a fact that with right now the whole situation with the timeline is that it's really unstable. There's a lot of branches that have opened right now. They're still dealing with the temporal aura, which I wonder if now having rid a lot of the timelines, if that's now going to fix a lot of what happened with the temporal aura and trying to contain it. But yeah, I mean, a very hard dilemma that just happened, a very harsh event, and now it's a matter of how they're going to proceed, right? So yeah, I mean, just to kind of rewind a little bit, right? I have to say, for one thing, Tom Hiddleston, I mean, he is really nailing the character so much. You can just see the range of expressions and emotions that he's exuding with this character. First showing off his mischief, and then, of course, his more sinister side, or his subtle sinister side, but also showing his vulnerability when he is facing Sylvie for the first time in a long time. So that's, I mean, I had to say props to Hiddleston. I feel like every time I see him donating the screen, it's always 110%. I'm just always loving his performance, and I see that again here in tonight's episode, where he is again really just showing off everything with Loki, and exemplifying why we love him so much as a character. Because funny enough, knowing the fact that how X5 was even saying that, just because he's here, he's still a villain. Look at what atrocities he's committed, or at least his sacred Loki has committed, and that is a lot of bad things, right? And he's technically a villain per se, but also we've seen how much this character has grown, how he's really trying to redeem himself, how a lot of his acts aren't just purely because he is, evil, but just more so because he had his own way of doing things, right? And so, yeah, I mean, and here it is. Even though he is the god of mischief, he's been trying to use his powers and his knowledge for good, and we see that here. All of that he's doing is just out of good intentions, and trying to move forward with his lifestyle now, having now been with the TVA, which it's really weird because technically speaking, he is helping the TVA, but he's technically not employed by them, which is like a really weird situation right there. So like he even says right here he doesn't technically work for them. So, but he has good intentions for what he's trying to do, and he's trying to preserve as much of the timeline as possible. And we see that here, how he's working with Mobius, how he's working with Hunter B-15, how he's trying to get Sylvie's help to, you know, trying to keep the balance of things somehow, even though there's a lot of concerns with what's going on in the timeline and how it can literally blow up for all we know, or it could really cause some really catastrophic events if it's not preserved. So yeah, I mean, the show has really done a good job so far, just showing those nuance and complexities so far. This one, again, we got some pretty good moments. Like, we've got a couple of action sequences here. Like, I mean, let me just say, the beginning sequence, like, I was literally watching, like, it was like basically seeing Loki and James Bond just kind of get mixed together, which, I mean, let's be honest, like, I know for a fact that Tom Hiddleston is like one of the big contenders for James Bond, although I'm pretty sure he probably wouldn't qualify because of the criteria that the Eon estate really want for their next James Bond. So highly unlikely, but this is probably the closest we'll ever get to seeing Tom Hiddleston playing a James Bond character or a James Bond-like sort of environment. So there you have it. I mean, that was a pretty cool sequence, I'm not gonna lie. Those were some really nice sequences in the beginning. That fight, I mean, pretty brief with the situation with the rogue TVA agents that they had to deal with at the end. Very, again, brief, but pretty good. Now it's a matter of how they're gonna move forward, right? Like, every time, I think one of the things I really enjoy about Loki, of course, is that it's not trying to drag so much of the story in like multiple episodes. It's trying to be very focused on what's the issue going on in the episode itself, and then seeing how that transpires at the end of, you know, by the end of it. And we see that here, right? At the beginning of it, they're trying to look for Sylvie because that was something that they had set up in the last episode. Sylvie has been a big target, and yet they're trying to figure out why she's very important. Now, of course, the big question going into the series that they already implied, not just last episode, but this episode, is what is the future going to entail in the TVA, right? Because we saw last episode that Loki was in the future. He somehow encounters Sylvie, who seems far more, you know, helpful, wants to really be involved. In contrast to the Sylvie that we see in this episode, who's just like, I just want to live my life, leave me alone, sort of a dilemma, sort of attitude. And here it is. And yet they're still mentioning, like, why is she involved? Why does she end up, you know, in the future that Loki somewhat saw? And what does it imply? What could be the issue going on with TVA? And I'm assuming that this could be also circling back to Renslayer, because we don't know what she's doing, right? She's out in the open somewhere. And it seems as though that she is working with He Who Remains. So they must have some sort of plan going on. Maybe this is, you know, might be related to Victor Timely. Who knows, maybe? But there are definitely a lot of unanswered questions, yet there's a lot of things that they've really kind of been showcasing of the stakes that's going on in the timeline, how, you know, things have transpired, what the things that people are willing to go in terms of the extremities of their actions, even though even though it will cost a lot of people's lives, which is like, yeah, I mean, that is really rough. So, and we see that here. Like, we see how they all react to that, just seeing kind of the atrocities, how things go into extremities and how that hurts people. So, and of course, we just see at the end of the day that Sylvie just goes back and works at her job, which looks as, it appears pretty much as if her branch did survive the pruning. So, but yeah, I mean, it's going to be very interesting to see how things move forward. Again, it doesn't have, I think one of the things I enjoy so far is that they aren't putting too much into the storyline. There's a pretty clear-cut thing going on and what they're trying to explore. We know that there are some questions regarding what the future entails, what Renslayer is doing, and how we're going to see the other Kang variants come into the open. And we're trying to see, and so far the episodes have been trying to circle around that as a matter of what will be the end game by the time we get to by the end of season 2. So yeah, lots of great things. A lot of, I think, of really good storytelling that we saw here. A lot of great emotional stuff. I wonder, again, like there are a couple other things that they also tackled in this episode. Like, for one thing, Mobius's actual sacred version. Like, what is his actual real storyline? Like, what was his true life like in the sacred timeline? Like, I mean, I'm assuming it's gonna have to deal with jet skis. There has to be some jet skis. This guy is obsessed with jet skis. Although funny enough, he hasn't been talking about jet skis a lot in this episode, although he might like key pie, key lime pie too. So okay, well, we probably have some hints there, but we don't know who his Mobius, like what his version is in the Sacred Timeline. So I wonder if that's gonna be a twist going into season 2, that maybe Mobius, like his sacred version, could be actually very significant than we actually wouldn't believe it to be. So I'm not gonna assume that Mobius himself knows. Like, he's probably just as oblivious about it as anyone else. But the fact that they're kind of implying something about his life and how that could be, like, you know, how the fact that he doesn't really know his version, I'm very curious if they're gonna actually uncover that later on in the season. Yeah, and then Renslayer is another thing. I already talked about that, and as well as the fact that how they're gonna move forward, right? So I think so far, really good episode. I think, again, this show has really kind of, I think one of the things that this show has really done a good job with is really kind of setting up and building up the stake of everything, giving us far more information and details about how the world building is like, in this case, the TVA, and how things have been very consequential, and doing so in a way that there's a really good balance of dialogue and, really good balance of dialogue and action and storytelling. And then we see that here in episode 2. Again, so far, I will say this, of course, that we still don't have a lot of big developments yet. I feel like we haven't really got to that big part of it, just because it's like this, the storyline is still trying to kind of recover from the chaos from season 1's finale, because again, a lot of things happen from there, and they're kind of just trying to slowly get back to the groove of things and trying to kind of be more orderly this time around. And it seems as if, like, by the time we actually started this episode, I'm pretty sure there must have been some sort of, you know, period between, some sort of gap between last episode and this episode, because it seems as if there's probably been a couple of days that had passed by, because the fact that XP, or what was it, Brad Wolf, managed to find Sylvie, yet ended up becoming a movie star, making a movie like Xavier or something. Like that's a lot of time that's probably passed. So yeah, I mean, lots of good development so far, lots of great storytelling. Definitely wondering where this is gonna go, just because we haven't seen the big pieces really kind of come out of the open as of yet. But hopefully, because again, we still have a lot of episodes to get through, so we still have a good amount of time before we get to see more of where the storyline is going to go, what it can give us in terms of understanding how the Nexus work, how the timeline works, TVA, more about the multiverse and how it functions, hopefully. And I wonder if there's an even greater entity, because again, the fact of the matter is that if Loki himself was able to travel in between past and the future when he was glitching for that short period that he had last episode, that means that there must be there's something that's up, right? We don't know what it is, there's no explanation for it, and yet that's a big question. So yeah, I think I've enjoyed this episode so far. Again, lots of great acting. I mean, again, Tom Hiddleston really just keeps blowing out of the waters in terms of his performance as Loki, and he did it again right here. Again, I love the fact that we got a little bit of kind of like this James Bond vibe earlier in this episode, which was kind of a fun bit that I was like, oh man, I wish we could continue on with this. I mean, like, I swear to God, Loki is just a very suave and silky sort of villain. Well, he's not really a villain, but an anti-hero. But I mean, yeah, I enjoy any time that I see Loki on the screen, and he's a very great character to keep on following. I mean, there's a reason why his character is like, not even just his character, but he's not the only reason. Here's the thing. There's a reason why he got his own show, of course. I mean, he's a very interesting character who has a lot more potential in terms of storytelling, which, of course, his sacred version, I mean, his time was run too short. I mean, we saw what happened with during Infinity War, and how, of course, he sacrificed his life in a sacred timeline. But of course, it's just more story to tell. And I feel like we've seen a very interesting aspect of Loki in a different sense, especially now that, you know, we saw, again, because of what happened back in, was it the events of Endgame and the Time Heist, which I now wonder if they may have pruned that branch over there, because that's a lot of big questions. Yeah. Or probably that timeline's gone. I mean, who knows? But there's a lot of things we still don't know about how the multiverse works. But But every time we see Loki, right, we see a complexity about him. We get to see more of this here in the show. It's one of the reasons why I'm happy we got the show, because we get to see more of Loki. So you get to see more of Tom Hiddleston, get to play off this character and showing the complexities of his, personality and the things that he has to undergo, the decisions that he makes, showing kind of the good and bad of him. And also not just that, but not only did we get a first season for Loki, but it's the only Marvel Disney Plus show that's managed to get a second season. So that's a huge feat of itself. There's a reason why Loki's such a very interesting character. Will we get a season 3? I don't know. It's really hard to say because there's a lot of things going on. Although right now the MCU is kind of in a whole bubble because if you haven't even heard, like there was that bombshell that dropped yesterday regarding the whole situation with Daredevil, which hopefully I get a chance to talk about more. But just long story short, they're redoing Daredevil from what I've read because they were not satisfied with the product that they have so far, even though Daredevil itself has not even finished filming because of the strikes. It looks like as if they're redoing everything with Daredevil, aside from keeping a few, a few scenes intact here and there. So, and not just that, but there's like a whole overhaul that's going on right now at MCU's, at the Marvel Studios. So, yeah, we'll see what's going to happen. We don't know how this is going to affect, how, the whole overhaul is going to affect Loki. Well, it's not going to affect Loki season 2. I mean, Loki season 2 has been done. It's going to happen. But it's just a matter of what this can imply for the future as well. So not just what's going to happen in the storytelling for season 2 of Loki, but how this is going to affect the entirety of the MCU, considering the fact that, right now the MCU is not in a very good place. We've seen kind of the last few shows and movies and how they haven't been the greatest so far. And it seems as if they're kind of restructuring a lot of things because things are just not working. But this one works. And hopefully it'll continue that great path that they're on right now. And we'll see what happens with the MCU in the future and what they're going to try and do with that. But yeah, I think, again, this episode has did a really good job in terms of storytelling, performance. I mean, even Sylvie, Sophia Di Martino, who plays Sylvie, she does a really good job here, even in the short amount of screen time that she has, because again, their interaction after so long between Loki and Sylvie and what happened back with the He Remains situation. It's going to be very intense. It's going to be very intense, environment. Situation that they're dealing with. So, just to see that happen, that's great to see. But yeah, a lot of there's a lot of dark turns that have happened, especially by the end of this episode, and it's just a matter of how they're going to move forward and what they're going to do now that this has happened, with the pruning happening, with Renslayer out of the open, knowing that Miss Minutes is now kind of basically rogue, and what was initially the plan that Renslayer and He Who Remains had if something like this were to happen. So, but yeah, I'm going to continue to watch the show, see how things start to really uncover. I think they're in a very, obscure phase right now where it's just like they're kind of just trying to take in this really dark event that happened, and now it's a matter of how they're going to move forward. So that's all I have to say about episode 2 of Loki season 2. What are your thoughts of tonight's episode? What do you think about the events that transpired, knowing that they just pruned basically 50% of the branched timelines? What is going to be the situation moving forward? What's going to be their next move? Where is Renslayer? We don't know where she is. What's going on with that? And an extension, Miss Minutes. Will we ever get to see Victor Timeline? Are we going to see him in the next episode? Because now knowing that this has happened, probably the next bet of knowing who knows the timeline the best is going to be Victor Timely. So when are we going to see him? Are we going to see him next episode? Who is Mobius, right? They're implying that Mobius has some sort of life in a secret timeline. Who is he? What type of personality does he have? What was his real life like? What is Sylvie's life moving forward? Are we going to actually meet her in the future as, Loki saw himself? What is going on with the TVA? Because we know at some point the TVA is at risk. We don't know what it is. What is going to be implying? Like, are we going to see the actual timeline in a very big situation that is unimaginable? Something that could be very catastrophic. Like, what is it? What is happening? Where is this show leading up to, knowing that we have this future timeline that we know that's happened? but how is that going to, like, what's going to be the events leading up to it? And do you have any other theories and predictions going into this show, knowing that we have a lot of things going on and how this could eventually impact the multiverse, right? We know that this is a multiverse saga, so how could this show, in extension, affect the actual sacred timeline and the events that we're going to probably see moving forward? That's if, of course, like, what is going to be part of the overhaul under Marvel Studios. Let me know what your thoughts are. Let me know in the comments down below, and make sure to like and subscribe.